Good morning. Happy Monday. And I just want you to know, first off, I miss you all so much. This is our second week of remote learning, and you are one in a million. All right, let's go ahead and get started. And you'll see that we want to review from last week. We want to review all those measurements that we talked about. So let's look here. And first we have our notes, just so you can see how they're supposed to look. So when we talk about measurement word problems, which is what we did on Friday, want to think about what makes the most sense. Now, as we go through this review, we're going to be reviewing 3 types of measurements that we talked about: length measurement, weight measurement, and capacity measurement. So first, let's look at this measurement. What do we use when we need to measure how long something is or the distance? What kind of measurement? Great, length measurement. So that's our first. So we measure length and we use inches, feet, and yards. How many inches are in a foot? Do you remember? If you look back at your notes, and I even put it on here, 12 inches equals 1 foot. Just like when we read a ruler, because remember, a ruler is a tool that we use to measure length. We can think about that ruler, remember, as fractions on a number line. Remember those? You should be practicing still. So fractions on a number line is just like our ruler. We're taking those inches or those feet, those yards, and we're taking those whole inches and splitting them up into equal parts. So let's do a couple of practice. So we'll look, remember, when you look at a ruler, what's important? To see where it starts and where it ends. So this one starts at 0. I can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts between each hole. So if I'm looking at this, remember the first thing we need to do is look at how many whole inches our object is. And we're measuring this line, and it goes 1 whole inch, 2 inches, 3 whole inches, 4 whole inches, 5 whole inches, 6 whole inches, 7 whole inches. But it doesn't quite go a whole nother full inch. So we know that it's 7 inches and then part of another one. What part is this fraction? What does that represent? Give you a minute, and I really hope you said 3/4. So this line, remember we write it as a mixed number, and we would write it as 7 3/4 inches. Okay. If we look at this one, we see that it starts at 0, it goes 8 whole inches, and then part of another one. What part is that? Remember, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. So that is 1 out of the 4. So that line represents 8 1/4 inches. I'll give you just a minute. This one should be pretty easy for you. What is your estimate? How long is this line to the nearest 1/4 inch? Did you say 7 2/4? That's awesome. But what else is it? What do we know 2/4 as? It has an equivalent fraction, and we call it, yes, 1/2. So this line is 7 1/2 inches. Okay, on to our weight measurement. Remember when we're talking about weight, we're talking about how heavy or light something is. So, what are our units of measurement for weight? Ounces and pounds. And you can look back at our notes, and if you didn't get these, this would be a really good time for you to write them in your notes so that you have them. And we look at weight, we measure weight in ounces and pounds. Now we have the units of measurement and their abbreviation. And we can even see our little relationship between the two right here. 16 ounces equals 1 pound. If we look at, and if you remember, an ounce could be like a strawberry, but what did we use in our lesson? We said 1 ounce is about the weight of 1 slice of bread. A pound was about the weight of, good, a loaf of bread, because it takes 16 ounces to equal 1 pound. So it'd be like putting 16 pieces of bread together and make a loaf of bread. And we don't do tons, but remember, 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton. Ounce. Are those really small measurements or something like heavy? Very good. It'd be something to weigh really light. Pounds we use to measure light. People, furniture. And our last measurement is capacity that we talked about. Remember, capacity is the volume. If you look back at your notes, the capacity is used to measure the volume of a container. Just simply put, how much can a container hold? That is capacity. And if you've ever been cooking and you need, or you're helping your parents cook, and they need to measure out something in a recipe, so they're going to use these measurements. But if I'm making some pancakes, I'm not going to use a gallon of milk, right? So we need to know those capacity measurements and their relationships. Go back and remember our kingdom of gallon. And in our kingdom of gallon, remember, gallon, G, it's our biggest capacity unit of measurement. It holds the most. And in our kingdom, we had 4 queens. Queen starts with what? Q, like quart. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 quarts in a gallon. Each queen had a prince and a princess. Prince and princess, what does that start with? A P, which is like pint. Very good. And there are 1, 2 pints that equal a quart. Now think about this. How many pints would equal a gallon? Well, we need to count all those pints. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pints equals 1 gallon. Then, in our kingdom of gallon, each prince and princess had 2 cats. So that means cats, what's the first letter? What does it start with? A C, which would stand for cups. So there are 2 cups in 1 pint. But look here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 cups in a quart. So how many cups would there be in a gallon? Did you say 16? I hope so, because there are 16 cups in a gallon. So let's talk about some of our measurements. So Sue is baking a pie. Her recipe calls for 4 cups of flour. She has 3 pints of flour. Does she have enough flour for her recipe? Well, if we look back, her recipe calls for 4 cups. So she needs 1, 2, 3, 4 cups. And she has 3 pints of flour. So she has 1, 2, 3 pints. Do you see those 4 cups and 2 pints? So if she has 3 pints, does she have enough? Yes, she does. She has enough because 2 pints of flour equals 4 cups. So if she has 3 pints, she has more than enough. And Tristan's family has a gallon container of milk in the refrigerator. Tristan drank 3 cups of milk in the morning. How many cups does his family have left? Well, let's think about it. How many cups were in a gallon? We have to count all these C's. So remember, there are 16 cups in 1 gallon. So if Tristan drank 3 of them, then what would I do to figure it out? If there's 16 cups total in a gallon, and he drank 3 of them, how could I figure out how many he has left? Yes, we need to do subtraction. So 16 minus 3 equals 13. He has 13 cups. Well, the family has 13 cups of milk left in the gallon. I want you to look up here and look at our notes. I'm going to make it bigger for you because I really want you to see this. All right, let's look here. The main thing to remember when you're doing measurement is what measurement is the question talking about? Is it asking you to measure how long something is or the distance? What kind of measurement would that be? Yes, length. Or is the question asking you for how heavy something is or how light or, comparing? If I have 15 ounces of sugar and I need 1 pound of sugar, do I have enough? No, because 16 ounces equals 1 pound. So if I only have 15 ounces, then I don't have enough. And if it's asking you to measure how much a container will hold, then we're talking about capacity. So always make sure that you know what measurement the question is talking about. Then think about what are those units of measurement for that. And then last, is your answer reasonable? Always think about that. So for today and your assignment, what I would like for you to do is on Google Classroom, after you watch this video, I want you to go to the measurement and capacity post assessment. And then I also want you, because this week we get into measuring time. Just how we can measure length and measure weight and measure capacity, we can also measure time. So I'd like for you to do this telling time pre-assessment for me. Now, pre means before. So we haven't learned it yet. So I don't want you to stress about it. But I do want you to know that you may not know this. And we will go over it this week. but I do want you to do the post assessment. That is your independent classwork for today, so that I can make sure that we're all understanding this. They will be posted to your Google Classroom. And tomorrow I will see you back for measuring time. Thank you so much, and I miss you all.